Why do they suddenly need so much more tax? Where's all this money going to?
Farming saved me, so I want to do my bit to save farming.
We've invested our life's work and our money into feeding the nation.
You'll get months when you really don't know where the next pound's going to come from.
You do farming not for the money, for the love, and it isn't enjoyable. It isn't enjoyable anymore.
Farmers across the UK have been protesting ever since the government announced that they were no longer allowing them to be exempt from inheritance tax. Farmers across the UK have become worried and fearful for the future of their business and families. They warn of the devastating effects it could have on not only themselves, but the public as a result. Today I went out to a protest in Derbyshire, set up by Farmers to Action, in an attempt to get their voices heard and make more people aware of what's going on. What is today about?
Today is about the cruel taxes that are being inflicted on all of us. Inheritance tax is hitting the farmers hard because they earn such a small amount of money for such a huge amount of assets that are sat outside there. The government seem to think that they can have a nice chunk of money out of them and farmers won't notice, but they will. We work on such a small margin that we need every pound that we can get inside there. These tractors, this one behind us is probably about 80,000, this one's probably 90,000. Without them, we can't do the job. A lot of the time, these tractors are hired, they're leased. We don't own them. They belong to the bank, the same as a lot of the trucks that are on the road and the vans that are out there.
What is something like this inheritance tax going to do to farmers?
Put them out of business. They earn between 1.5% of capital invested, and there isn't the money to pay an inheritance tax. They're taxed all the way through. Farmers do pay tax, but when it comes to when they die, they pass the farm on to the next generation. This will not happen because they'll have to sell a big chunk of the land and it makes the farm unviable.
How soon, obviously, if they bring in this inheritance tax legislation that they want to bring in, how soon after that do you think we'd see the decline of farmers
I
in
think
the UK?
we've already seen the decline for the last 20 plus years. Our older generation are packing up. Them younger generation, my age and below me, there's less and less of them. They're not there. They're not going to be there to produce the food. There's no point. There's more money to be earned off farming than on farming because of the very nature of what it is. You do farming not for the money, for the love. That's the thing. You do it not for earn millions. You do it to earn a living and enjoy your life. And it isn't enjoyable. It isn't enjoyable anymore.
Farming saved me, so I want to do my bit to save farming. I mean, I was in a really low place a few years back. In the dumps, I was, not very well, and then my friends were just like, do you want the job? And I was just like, yeah, go on then, and fell in love with it.
Inheritance tax is a cruel thing because what happens, somebody dies and that asset, that business is handing over to somebody else. There's no money. Now, if we sold it and we made a profit, we would happily pay capital gains tax. Personally, my parents were sadly killed in a car accident about 10 years ago, and if this tax had been in then, our farm would be gone. The staff that work for us would be out of a job. Our house would have been gone. The whole lot would have been taken away.
Is this the worst thing that you've seen happen to farming in your lifetime?
Yes, I believe it is, yes. Food security doesn't seem to mean anything to this government. I'm just worried that in, years to come there's going to be a drastic shortage of food.
And what does this mean for your generation going forward into farming and the next generation that comes after?
Less of it, That's about it, really. It's going to be less of it. So the world's becoming a more unstable place minute by minute. The UK used to be able to sustain itself very well. Look at us during the war. We had coal mines, steel making, everything. We were a self-sustaining island. The last self-sustaining industry is now, I hate to say it, farming.
This joke that it's only going to be a small percentage of farms, she's worked on lots and lots of little hobby farms as numbers around the country. So people that have 5 horses or things like that, which is great, don't mind anybody doing that's fantastic. But it's an unrealistic figure of what Rachel Reeves is throwing about. We should be working on how many farms are affected, which are actually producing food for you.
Fair prices for farmers and consumers or something?
Yeah,
What's
exactly.
that part about, please, if you could?
Like what we get paid versus what you pay for the food. And then it's the middle part in between. So is making 2 billion profits. That was last year's. Farmers can't make profits. Amazing. You're paying through the nose for food. It's costing you, so it's hitting your pocket. You're worse off, but is making billions of profits. Where's the fairness across the supply chain? Farmers aren't getting it, and you're paying for it, and these lot shareholders are having billions.
An average farm today, they're probably earning £50,000 a year, £40,000 a year on a £2 million, £3 million, £4 million asset. It's only an average wage.
And I suppose once you narrow down the hours that you're actually putting in as well, it's probably more close to minimum wage by that point.
It's below minimum wage,
below.
probably. Yeah, I mean, that's true. We can be calving cows at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we're out there, we're pulling the lambs out, we're pulling the calves out in the middle of the night. In the daytime, we're out there on the tractors, we're feeding up, we're doing the veterinary bit, we're doing the fencing. It's a great job. Not knocking the job for 1 minute. We enjoy farming, that's why we do it.
I'm a farm contractor and farm worker on 3 farms.
How is what's coming in affecting the owners of those farms?
I mean, on one farm, I've been told that I'm probably going to get less hours because they're not going to be able to afford me. It's not just farmers who are directly being impacted, it's their friends and families and the whole future, really.
I don't understand, and this is a big question to everybody, why do they suddenly need so much more tax? Where's all this money going to?
The government are not sitting down and talking to us, they're just dictating. We don't get a reply from our MPs.
Not even a normal response.
Not even
No.
a generic reply.
No, they will not talk to farmers at all, will they?
Sadly, we're trying to have all these assets taken away from us. And for what? To give it abroad. Now, if it was paying for the NHS, paying for children, sick people, none of us mind that, and we all pay our day-to-day taxes anyway. But the sad part is there's so much wastage going on with this government. The amount of money they're wasting is frightening.
What's your favourite part about farming? What do you love the most?
Being outdoors and working with the animals. Keeps me away from people. I don't like people.
Fair enough. What do you think would be a better solution if obviously they want to put this more tax on you? What would you think would be a better solution to that?
We think they should cancel inheritance tax for all. When a farm is sold because there's nobody to inherit it, then they can apply a tax, but not when it's handed from one family member to the next generation to carry on feeding the nation.
One of the biggest criticisms that I have been seeing online, of course, is people saying, oh, you should pay your inheritance tax just like everybody else. Yeah. And to that, how would you respond to that sort of criticism?
That's a brilliant question. Most industries are working on a 30% margin, whereas farmers are working on around about 7 or 8. And by the time you get down to the net profit that's left inside there, as I'm sure you've seen Jeremy Clarkson, some years there's none. Some years we work on a loss, other years we'll make a profit, but what's actually left isn't a lot. There are times when you're sitting there thinking, how are we going to pay the bills this month? You'll get months when you really don't know where the next pound's going to come from. There are more farmers in this country on less than minimum wage than ones who are making a fortune.
How do you explain to the people, like the British people, that this is a serious issue and that it is something that will affect them in years to come?
We've invested our life's work and our money into feeding the nation. We can't put a price on our products. We're told what we get paid, which is minuscule.
It's all these thousands of acres is taken out of production, you see. Rewilding,
there's just a big
tree planting.
Big land grab, and they're wanting to grab the land below the cost of the land is valued at.
And how do we go forward about getting the government to reconsider this? What is the best plan of action?
That's what we're trying to do, engage with the public and ask them to engage with their councillors, MPs, anybody with any influence.
Do you think a lot of people are not understanding and thinking that it's only the rich farmers that are, being done by this, and they automatically assume if you've got farmland, if you've got a business, then you're automatically minted, sort of thing?
That's the scary part. People do look at the tractors and they look at the cars and all of that. We need a 4x4 to pull a cow trailer legally, because you've got to have a heavy car to stop the trailer when you've got cows on the back. You need a tractor that's going to be reliable, because these animals want feeding 365 days a year, so we can't have old pieces of kit that are going to break down on us. So yes, the perception is, oh, it's all right for you live in a big house. Farmhouses were big because they used to have lots of staff living in them. Years ago, the cowman would live with you, you'd have all sorts of people living in that one farmhouse. It's different today, but you don't knock the farmhouse down and build a smaller one, because things have changed like that. So yeah, there probably is some of that perception.
What's the best thing that anyone who's watching that wants to support farmers, what's the best thing that they can do?
Buy British. Please buy British. Wherever you can. Everything's done high welfare, everything's done to the best in this country, so if you can, please do. If you've got a local farm shop, support them. Local shops, please support them. We want to keep small businesses alive. Mr. Tesco, yeah, great to see him there, and Sainsbury's, more of them, but if we can keep the local shops going as well, because the big supermarkets will get the main shop anyway. But wherever possible, if they can support the local butchers and the local shops, that would be brilliant.